welcome to the nomination process assistance for this version of SAP ACE 2019. Next, please. A brief background to ACE. Many of you know it by now. So we are now in the 12th edition. As you all know, it's considered a serious award, a benchmark of success. We have received till date 1,500 nominations. We have felicitated over 175 winners and almost 2,200 plus attendees since inception. And the basic idea is that we want to recognize and honor Indian businesses, Indian executives who demonstrate useful or innovative use of SAP solutions. One of the key highlights of this is a completely independent jury panel. And there is an integration with SAP performance benchmarking in the various forms that you fill up. There are various KPIs. So it integrates with SAP performance benchmarking. And finally, last year, we received over 120 nominations and over 20 winners across different categories. Next, please. Some shots from SAP ACE 2018 held in Mumbai. Some of you may remember this. Some of the awardees. Go on. Some more shots for those of you who were there. You probably remember. This was the gathering there at, I think it was at a Hyatt. Go on. Now let's look at SAP ACE 2019. The Indus partnership this year has been stronger. Indus has become a leading partner for not only SAP, but also SAP ACE awards. The categories are simplified. We have included an Ambassador of the Year award this time. We'll explain it to you, or Manish, when he goes through, will explain it to you. And whatever we say, there is a separate grouping for SMEs with annual revenues less than 750 crores. That's the definition from SAP. And we are likely to have multiple jury panels, which means if you have what we call line of business awards, there'll be one jury panel. If you have technology awards, there'll be one jury panel. And certainly if you have the Ambassador of the Year awards, and there is also industry-wise vertical awards for specific large industries. Each one of these are likely to have separate jury panels. So it's much more exhaustive. Next, please. You know this, but just a recap, the value of the ACE Awards, it is motivation for both the customer organization and partner organization and their IT teams. It is a recognition within the SAP ecosystem. In some cases, definite business improvements also take place. The evaluation process, as we have seen over the years, is a useful learning. When we evaluate a particular project or we talk to particular project teams, there's a lot of learning that we get and they also get. And of course, there's tremendous networking opportunities with other SAP customers, some like yourselves, some like in other verticals, and also Indus members. All right. So this year, like last year, there are three basic groups, award categories, which is the line of business on the left side, technology areas in the middle, and business and industry on the right. So the line of business, as you will obviously expect, we have strategic HR and talent management, we have customer excellence, sales and marketing combined, we have service, we have financial excellence, we have operational excellence in manufacturing, operational excellence in supply chain, and sourcing excellence on the left. In the middle, we have transformative technology, leveraging analytics and big data, running a real-time live enterprise, mobile technologies and business processes, and leveraging cloud infrastructure. And on the right, there's an award for breakthrough innovation, which cuts across various businesses and industries. There is a technology adoption in banking and financial services, specific to financial services and banking, technology adoption in telecom, and a specific category for public services, departments and government services. So you have three category groups. There are 16 categories across these category groups. SMEs in general would be available basically for line of business and running real-time live enterprise. The double asterisks will tell you which are the ones applicable to SMEs. Obviously, business industry is specific to larger businesses, and some of these technologies are not really applicable to SMEs. For each of these categories, there is an SAP solution that is mapped that makes it easier for you to look at your category as well. All right, next. Now, here are some of the award categories that you will see in the website. You can see award in operational excellence manufacturing, in sourcing as you go left to right on the top, adoption of transformative technologies, which is IoT, etc. Continue to the right for using mobile technologies, etc., etc., etc. So these are some of the award categories. All right, go forward. Another set of award categories. There are some award categories which are divided into subcategories. All these are explained. I don't need to waste your time right now. Go forward, please. Now, broadly, the eligibility criteria, please make a note. All those whose projects have gone live between 1st of Jan 2018 and 30th of June 2019. Earlier winners can nominate new projects as long as you're within the go live timelines that I have discussed. Older projects which have gone ahead with upgrades or enhancement, again, as long as they're within the timelines, the upgrades or enhancements are eligible. There is a single login for multiple nominations, which means for a company with multiple projects, you can do a single login and then choose various categories for your different projects. As before, you can do multiple edits before you submit, because once you submit, you can make no changes. The form is online, it's complete and comprehensive. You also have a user guide and FAQs available for download and references. And you can, as before, preview or download all your nominations till date before you finally decide to submit. And you have with you a help guide and a help desk, right? Once you register on SAP ACE Awards, there's a help guide available on the site and a help desk, we'll come to the end of it. You'll see the email ID and the phone in. These are available to you at any time for you to call and ask any question. All right, forward please. I now hand over to Manish to take you through the details of the registration and nomination process. Over to you, Manish.
Thank you, Mohan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Manish Malhotra. And over the next 10 minutes or so, I'll take you through the nitty-gritties of the registration and nomination process. So to begin with, we are saying that there's a clear registration process. As a company, you can register only once, even though you may have multiple projects to nominate. And after the single registration is done, then you move forward to the nomination process. And we'll go deeper into each of these in the next few slides. Next, please. Yeah. Now, if you look at the registration process, you can go to the URL which is mentioned on top there. And obviously, if it's a new registration, you would click on new account and fill in the registration details, which I'll take you through shortly. Very basic form. Once the new user registration is done, you get a verification mail. And once you click the verification mail, you'll get your user ID and login ID and password. Next, please. So this is the main landing page screen looks like. This is what it looks like. And in case it's a new user, then you can see at the bottom left, bottom right, sorry, register as new user. And if you're an existing user, then you obviously just log in using your credentials. So next, please. So once you come in as a new user, you have to register, giving some very basic details. A more clearer screenshot of this will be available in the user guide, which you can download. So here, basically, you have to provide the company details, contact details, etc., and the primary industry. So that's all there is to registration, nothing else. Next, please. So after you do the registration, you get a verification mail, which has a link. And on clicking of the link, you get a registration confirmation, which is coming with your login ID and login password. Next, please. Now, once you get your login password, quite possible sometimes you may misplace it. You can obviously then reach out for a forgot password option, which is available, and a new password can be generated and sent over to you. At this point, may I just point out that just make sure that when you're looking for these verification and confirmation mails, Look for it in the spam folders as well, because of internal company policies. Quite possible, some of the mails may land up there. So just check all folders before you move forward and start your nomination process. Next, please. And on the password, you can also change password, because what we'll be sending you will be a system generated password. So you have the provision to change password as well. Next, please. Yeah. So that was the registration process. Then we come to the nomination, which is, the actual process of filling up the form. So the nomination form is divided into 3 sections broadly. One is the project background, which we'll see shortly. Second is the business KPIs. These would be certain quantitative pieces of information which we'll ask for, depending on which category you've nominated for. The KPIs will obviously vary. And the third is a qualitative part of the form, where we look at things like what were the business objectives, what were the project objectives, what kind of innovation has been done. Also, the Ambassador of the Year form would be in this part. So that it's split into 3 subparts, the nomination, which is project background, KPIs, and the qualitative part. Next, please. So once you start with the nomination, the first thing that you will come across is selecting your customer category, which means is it SME, less than 750 crore annual turnover or more. Second would be the ACE award category group. As Mohan said, there are 3 category groups. One is LOB, second is technology, and third is the
line of business, industry verticals.
Industry verticals. So those are the 3 category groups. And within these 3 category groups, there are award categories, which are 16, as we ran through a short while ago. Next, please. So quickly, this is the customer category screen, where you can see whether it's a strategic or large enterprise or a SME. Next, please. In the award category group selection, you have business, industry, line of business, and technology, as I discussed. And next, please. And once you've selected that, then automatically the drop down will pop up for the relevant award categories within the category group and for that customer category. Next, please. Now moving forward, once you've selected the customer category, let's say for example it's a large enterprise, you selected the award category group, which is, let's say, business or industry, and you've selected the award category, which is, let's say, BFSI. The screen will then throw up a few SAP solutions which are mapped to these categories. 90% accuracy. It's quite possible that you may have implemented a solution which is not listed here, in which case you will see at the bottom there is a any other SAP solution, please specify option. So that's pretty much covered. It's a good guide to figure out which categories are mapped to which SAP solutions. Next, please. So once you've mapped the solution, selected your category and award category group, etc., then the project background screen pops up, where again, very, very basic information regarding what was the go live date, start date, end date of the project, who was the implementation partner, and who's the project sponsor, etc., etc. So very basic stuff pertaining to the project. When did it start? Who was the implementation partner? We've already captured which solution has been implemented in the earlier menu. So that's about the project background. Next, please. Once you're done with the project background section, you'll get a screen or the page which asks for quantitative KPIs. In this particular example that we've cited, we are asking only for annual revenues and number of employees, but this is not it. Depending on the award category, the metrics will change. These two will remain constant, of course, but for supply chain, there'll be supply chain linked metrics. For manufacturing, it would be manufacturing linked metrics, etc., etc. So these would be roughly, let's say, 5 to 8 metrics that we'll call for in each of the categories, award categories. Next, please. Then, as discussed, the third part of the nomination form, which is a qualitative, where we look at details like what project background, project management, what were the business objectives, what kind of transformation has been achieved, and all these has boxes where you can fill in the details, which are largely qualitative. Next, please. We also have a provision that besides the information that you provide in the nomination form, if you wish to upload any additional information, a PowerPoint, a PDF file, or some Excel, files to support the nomination, to strengthen your nomination, there is a provision to upload those. And at this point, I'd like to emphasize that all the information that comes in on the forms or is uploaded is treated with the strictest of confidentiality norms as per SAP policies. And these are used only by Mohan and me for evaluation comparisons and discussions with jury if needed. We have no soft copy or hard copy is ever shared outside this ecosystem. So just to emphasize this point, because it's when we're asking for information, we also respect the confidentiality of that. Next, please. So the second last part of the nomination would be the SAP Ambassador of the Year. This is an optional thing. Either you can choose to nominate or you may skip. By SAP Ambassador of the Year, what we mean is any SAP executive who has been involved in the implementation process of the solution for which you nominated your company for. So if you have found that the SAP executive has been outstanding in terms of the value that he or she delivered on either the process support or the technology area or general debottlenecking, whatever the case may be, you could go ahead and nominate the SAP ambassador, SAP executive as the SAP ambassador with some basic details that we've asked for. Even on this, you have the option of uploading supporting documents for the SAP Ambassador of the Year award. So you have uploads of supporting documents for the main nomination, and you have provision to upload additional information for the Ambassador of the Year. So with that, when we move to the next slide, you come to the end and you hit the submit button on the bottom of the screens when you are filling in the process. Just remember that you have the provision to save your nomination as many times as possible because you may want to edit it, come back to it. Sometimes you fill up a part of the nomination and then ask for data across some department or across the organization. So keep saving it, because once you submit it, then you cannot edit it. So just make sure when you are hitting the submit button, you are 100% sure that you have filled up the form to your satisfaction, discussed with all stakeholders internal, and then submit it. Next, please. So now I'll hand it back to Mohan, who's here, and he'll take you through some other, the timelines, etc.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you very much. So let's just run through the timelines. In the first block on the left is your registration process, where you will give us basic information. Click on your activation link, and we will record the various registrations, confirmations. If there are multiple logins, we'll allow you multiple logins, etc. That's the registration process. In the second block, which is you have to complete your forms by 16th of August. The deadline for completion is 16th of August. That you as a customer, you'll fill up the online forms, use the helpline, submit any additional documents. If you want to save, you save. And SAP and Positive Edge, on behalf of SAP, we will help clarify any queries that you give it to us. We may even reach out to you to help you to submit your nomination and arrange webinars like these. Right? In the third block, as you go through from 16th of August, from the date you submit your nominations and we close, we till the September end is the evaluation phase. As Manish, as I will explain to you, we will go through 2-3 stages of evaluations, and we will ask you for additional information or clarifications, and we will seek those clarifications, and we will coordinate with an independent jury for appointment and evaluation. And finally, the jury meetings are expected to take place in October. And if there is any further requirement of information, we will reach out to you. We will prepare a final shortlist for the jury. The jury will decide on that shortlist, and I will again explain to you in the next slides. And at the end of it, during October, I think currently it's slated for 18th or something of October, there will be an award ceremony where all the winners will be felicitated. Details to follow. Next, please. Now, what are the key points for a successful nomination? Over the years, here are some points that you need to keep in mind. Please make sure that all the sections are filled. If you leave blanks, you're not answering the basic question. I think it's unfair to expect evaluators to call back on getting basic answers. If you're given the answer, then there is a chance we will call you back to understand and clarify some things. But please fill up all the sections. The second point is wherever there's a KPI, please fill it up as accurately as you can. We don't need mathematically correct. We need approximations as long as you're sure about them. If there are any documents that they are, please upload them because they will only strengthen your case. Feedback from users and senior management again will make your case stronger. If you have process improvements and anything new and innovative that you've done, please highlight that. And in particular, the last 2 points, if there is a link, if there's an improvement that you've done that is quantifiable before and after, either it's cost or it's process efficiency or it's waste reduction or it's time to market or any other activity related, please highlight those. And finally, you must have a link between your objective and your impact. There is no point of telling us that you had impact in 5 areas when you started by looking at impact only in the top 3. So as far as we are concerned, and I think you will agree, the remaining 2 impacts are incidental. They are not related to your objective. So they will not get the kind of marks that you would if you had targeted an objective and achieved an impact against that objective. Okay, next please. Now here's how we do it. We will take your KPI benchmarks or KPI numbers and category by category. This is not across all of them. This is by category. We will arrive at a composite index based on those KPIs. To give you an example, if you're looking at finance and you're saying one of the KPIs is time taken to close annual accounts. Now, obviously, the lower the KPI, the better, right? So I'm just giving you an example, okay? So in this various ways, some are lower, better, some are higher, better. We have a metric to arrive at a composite score of this. And this composite score will be done compared across the category with various other statistics that are applicable. We will choose a first shortlist based on this composite score. This shortlist will then, we will talk to this shortlisted people in detail about their projects, about all the kinds of details about their projects and so on and so forth. And then we will reach out and shortlist them basis what you've written here, the tactical or project related impacts, the strategic or business related impact, the innovation impacts and other impacts. I want to explain that when you see a question like critical business success factors, these are not the same as project success factors, because a project success factor could be very simply, if your project is on time and on budget, you could say project is successful. Or if your project said we will cut some cost and you cut the cost, it is successful. But the business success factor is something else. The business success factor is what are the key elements that are critical for your business, and against those elements, what has been the improvement? So just because a project is successful doesn't necessarily mean that your business has been successful. The project can be successful, the business is not yet successful, or there are areas of the business that the project has not impacted. Those are factors we take into account. And finally, especially for LOB awards, we look at the IT versus business alignment. In other words, if your strategy is on a particular direction and this project fits into that strategy, you will get more marks. But if your strategy is one direction and your project is a separate direction, or we don't give you that many marks. So please keep these in mind. Basis these, we present a further shortlist to the jury, and the jury will then take the final decision. I'll explain to you how. The next, please. The jury it's an independent jury. Okay, the jury may call for additional information. There have been cases where from the jury meeting, we have reached out to the project teams for specific additional information. The jury decision is final and binding on all of you, all of us. The jury has the full liberty to reject what we have said, to award multiple projects jointly. The jury can change or recategorize a particular project, or the jury can accept whatever we are saying. So in the past, we have seen repeatedly that whatever we may say, the jury with their experience and with their understanding often comes across with a lot of other perspectives to choose a final winner. And we respect that, and that's the independence. And as I said, there are different juries to cover multiple awards. The key thing here is that SAP is not present in the jury evaluations. SAP is not present at all. It's completely independent. And to add to the confidentiality that Manish said, if there are jury members who are in industries that the nominees are also present, we will ask that particular jury member to step outside for that category and come back only when we decide that category. So we are very, 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 very careful and very, very fussy about confidentiality. This is broadly the evaluation criteria for the jury. Next, please. I now hand over back to Manish to listen to all your questions. Here are some questions that he will take you through.
Yeah, thanks, Mohan. So as we come towards the end of the presentation, I would urge that if you have any specific questions, please drop those into the chat box. And after we finish with the presentation, which would be in the next 5 minutes, we'll start taking up those questions. But in the meantime, here are a few FAQs that we've prepared given our experience in the past. Some normal questions which get asked. One is, the first point is that please make sure that you have filled up the entire form with the details that we've asked for. It is very important, as Mohan said, because when we are doing the evaluation and screening and comparisons, we need all the information that we could get. Sometimes we get questions around how do I select my award category. So I hope I have taken you through the basic process. Besides that, if you have any queries, I urge you to download the user guide where you will see the award category and the SAP solution mapping, which will help you decide which category the project needs to come for. Also at this point, I will also add another caveat here, that the same project cannot be nominated in 2 different award categories. I repeat, the same project cannot be nominated in 2 different award categories. It has to go into 1 category. But one company can have multiple nominations as long as they have implemented different solutions addressing different needs. SAP Ambassador of the Year Award, I think I've made it very clear. This is for the SAP executive who's added value in either in debottlenecking or process or implementation of the nomination that you've sent for your SAP awards for this year. Sometimes there may be, it's possible that you may face some technical issues in terms of system not responding, or you've not saved the data and you've lost it. In this case, reach out to the help desk and we'll try our best to help you out with whatever technical issues you might face. It could also be sometimes browser issues, etc. So please use the SAP help desk extensively for any debottlenecking while you are filling up the form. Sometimes we do get asked, why are you asking for the KPIs? As we've explained multiple times earlier, KPIs are used for the level 1 screening when we do the composite scores within a category. So which is why we ask for the KPIs, and it's important that you furnish those. Then, of course, how do I submit more information? We've told you there are 2 ways. One is, of course, the direct upload provision within the form. You could do that. Quite possible that you've submitted a form and then later come across something or remember that, I could have shared this information. So you can then mail that additional document to the SAP ACE Award, email ID, and we will make sure that it's, linked to your original nomination, as long as you mention in the subject line and body copy which project, which company, and which nomination. Can I submit an earlier project or implementation? No, only projects or implementations which have gone live within the prescribed dates, which is 30th 1st Jan to 2018 to 30th June 2019, only those are eligible. And the last point that comes, sorry, I think there's a aeroplane flying overhead. We are close to the airport. So I'll just wait for 5 seconds till the noise dies down. Yeah. So the last question which gets asked is, as Mohan explained, that in the evaluation, there are 2 or 3 phases. So one is we do a level 1 screening using the quantitative data. Post that, whatever is shortlisted, Mohan and me will reach out to the shortlisted companies, which means you'll actually hear from us. And we'll set up a 1.5 hour telecon with the stakeholders to get more understanding on the qualitative aspects. So which means if you get a call, it means your project is most probably going through to the jury. But what happens is sometimes we may not have shortlisted a particular project and hence you've not got a call from us. But when we sit with the jury in that jury room, the jury may say that, listen, these 3 projects that you discussed in this category are not very, very, exciting. Let's go through what you had screened out. And then the jury may decide, after looking at those which we screened out, to reach out at that moment. And in their wisdom, may decide that the project is a winner, which we had screened out. So which is why the entire robustness of the process, and it's very transparent and robust. Jury is free to discard the shortlist that me and Mohan take to them. In which case, if you've not heard from us, doesn't mean that it's been ruled out completely. Next, please. So next steps, please go ahead and register and start the nomination process. 16th August is the deadline for receiving the nominations. So by 16th August, the site will clamp down and we will stop accepting fresh nominations. And for any further help, feel free to reach to the helpline. There's 2 numbers provided. You can write in on the email ID. And there will be one more webinar in probably a week or 8 days. So if you have missed out some part of this webinar or something is not clear, you could come back on the second webinar. So these are some of the provisions which we have provided to you so that the nomination process goes through smoothly for all of you. And next slide, please. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the time being from Mohan and me.